That sounds like Sean typing.
That would be Sam.
No, it's
typing.
Sam.
You're on.
Yeah, no, I knew I was on. I did this because I'm all alone today. Well, John, no, that's not true. I don't want to minimize our producer. John Anderson is here, but he's on the other side of the camera. So here I am in the studio. There's no chairs. But I'm not alone for the show, because not only do we have John there, which John could just leave himself permanently up there if it was just me talking to, like, I'm trying to think the old cartoon where it's one of those weird, silly alien things. Sam is here remote. Sean is here remote.
Not yet.
We believe.
He will be.
And this is the DLS Dallas Stars podcast. Nothing like whistling to start the show. This is Thursday, February 13th. This is the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. Hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that like button down there.
Get ready, boys.
Yeah. Alongside Sam Nestler, I should say, remotely alongside Sam Nestler and Sean Shapiro. I am sitting in the vicinity of our producer, John Anderson. Oh, Sean's bragging already. Now John's in front of, there we go. Put him down there.
Do you like my square, Sean? With rounded
I do.
edges?
I do.
I look like an iPhone app. I look like Steve Jobs came back from the grave and he said, no corners on this square, Mr. Producer Cam.
I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us.
So we're always improving. Always improving.
Always getting better, right? See, look at that. I can do that. Nothing. You guys?
Nothing.
Thumbnails.
I don't know if I can either.
I can. Look at this.
Oh, Sam. Only Sean gets to have fun.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Nah, it's not working. All right. We have another big show today, heavily talking about the Four Nations face-off, which officially kicked off last night with Canada taking down Sweden in overtime. It was a thrilling game. We'll get into all of that. But we had a great show yesterday. And if you haven't watched our interview, Lud, Sam, and I, with Dallas Stars Assistant General Manager Mark Janko, I highly encourage you to do so. We are almost past 1,000 views already on YouTube. And it's phenomenal. Now it's long because Jenks was really generous with his time, and we went almost an hour 48, I think, which was great. And there's some really good stuff on his history, how he got into the business, how he went from PR to hockey operations, which has happened a couple times with people that work for the Stars. Most recently, Tom Holy going from head of PR out to the San Jose Sharks as assistant GM, but it's not a very common thing. But then he talked a lot about Stars, his job, the procedures, Joe Pavelski, there's a great bit in there on him. And of course, Lian Bichsel. And it wasn't news, or it wasn't earth-shattering news, guys. And Sam, I don't know if you have anything you want to expand on with the Bichsel stuff, but it is always interesting when one of the members of the Stars front office says, yeah, that young player that we think is going to be here until they change their mind.
Yeah, nothing groundbreaking, but it was interesting because what we've heard so far and what we keep getting is, Pete and Jim Nill and other coaches saying, we're going to give him a long look, which is kind of the furthest we've gotten, which is in turn kind of basically says the same thing, which Janko basically said yesterday. We believe he's here for the long haul. We think he's here. We think he's ready. And that's kind of saying the same thing, but it wasn't on the same level of commitment, if that makes sense, where Janko was like, before we even finished the question, I forget who asked it, before the question was even finished, he was nodding along saying, yes, we believe he's here to stay. And I think that's important only because we're getting it straight from, other than Jim Nill, this is the guy to get it from. And I think that's good for the fans to see, and that's why that interview is so great, and why I've already gone back and watched it twice, because there was so much information that you don't even get it all, even sitting there two chairs away from the guy. So go watch it if you haven't. It's incredible, and there are just so many stories. We're going to be putting out clips for probably the next 6 weeks on that episode, writing articles off of it. There's so much good stuff from it, but I think the point there from getting it directly from Janko is that is as close as to the horse's mouth as you can get with this organization.
Hey, Sean, about the Lian Bichsel stuff, I was interested to see that he did not play for the Texas Stars last night. Is that a surprise to anyone, or were you expecting that even though he was sent down to the AHL for the Four Nations, that you didn't anticipate him playing?
Surprise to anyone, or a surprise to Sean Shapiro? Because there are two very different there. There was no surprise to Sean.
How long have you started referring to yourself in the third person?
Not to brag or anything.
Yes, only when we do a three. Only when I have my own box and I can do all of this, and I have the ability to bring fireworks on the screen when no one else does. That's only when I refer to myself in the
Doesn't do
third
anything.
person. Yes. He is he's a member of the NHL roster, and Jake said as much to you guys on the show yesterday. And the reality is, he's also waiver exempt. And well, Janko didn't say it directly on the show yesterday. Part of his job is to manage the cap number as much as possible for the Stars. And the best possible cap manipulation or maneuvering, depending which terminology you want to use, is for Lian Bichsel to be on the Texas roster until Dallas is practicing and using him again. So he's effectively, his contract is with the Texas Stars right now. That's where he's assigned to. I don't know where Lian actually is, but he didn't play last night for Texas. He's probably not going to play for Texas all this because there is no there's not value in risking Lian Bichsel getting hurt right now, especially with where everything's going on this team and with Miro's injury and everything like that. Like this is purely a paper transaction. And unless he plays and improves us otherwise, he's a member of the Texas Stars in name only. And that's not surprising to me. And I think we've seen a couple things. He's not the only young player that's happened to during this Four Nations break. I wrote something about over my Substack about this earlier this week because there was some confusion about why Detroit did something with a first-round pick, Marcus Kasper, who I think was drafted the year before Lian, I believe. But Kasper has been sent up and down, hasn't played an AHL game since October, but has been sent back to the Grand Rapids Griffins now 14 times. He's been sent back 14 times. He'll be recalled the 15th time next Wednesday, whenever the Wings practice again. And he has not set foot in Grand Rapids since October. And because it is effectively every single day that there's not a game or practice for Detroit, they were sending him down to save the cap space and move things around. And so this is what the Stars are doing during Four Nations with Lian. They haven't been as aggressive as some other teams with it. And that's just the reality. And I think it's one of those things that can make some of these moves around this time, and just reading the transaction wire a little bit interesting because everything is created equal in the transaction wire. You go through and you look at it and it says, oh, loaned down, done this, did that, whatever. When really we need a third box with an asterisk of for cap reason. No one will ever give us that, right? Yeah. But we need like that third box of like, hey, for cap reasons, he'll actually play. Like those are the things that I'd love for the league and with full truth serum to be put on things, but it'll never happen.
Do you have you and I were talking before the show today about the salary cap implications. Yeah. Do you actually have the math in front of you?
I have the daily math.
I have
the daily math. So to give people an idea, so NHL, a quick explainer because this gets confusing. NHL players are paid per day in the NHL. They are not paid per game. I think that's a common confusion. People will be like, "Hey,
unless you're being fined as a repeat offender from the NHL Department of Player Safety, like Ryan Hartman, then you start getting fined per game, and that is a much bigger percentage than per day."
Well, he is actually still getting fined per day.
Actually, they said that he was getting fined per game because he was the 5-time offender.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down to the amount of days and games. Either way, but NHL players.
Yeah. We'll argue about those semantics later.
We can get into Ryan Hartman's finances at a later date and time.
Sam, this is one of those where I look at Sean and say, I know I'm right, but I'm going to be nice about it and not push the emphasis.
And you guys are going to call each other for 2 hours after anyway. So
yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I'll yell at him later.
Sam, don't check in my call logs. Don't do that.
Sorry. Sean called me today. That's bigger news.
That's a bit bigger news.
Did you record it and save it for posterity?
Yeah.
NHL players are paid on a 186-day schedule. There's 186 pay days in the NHL year. So you take a guy's salary and you divide it by 186, and that's how you get to the rough. That's when you get to the rough salary for a daily wage for a player. So Lian makes $4,937.27 per day on the NHL roster by my math of his salary divided by 186. When he's in the AHL, he is making $443.54. So that is a 10x. He makes 10x every single day he's on the NHL roster compared to the AHL roster. The Stars also save $4,937.27 of cap hit every single day Lian is not on the NHL roster. So the rough back of napkin math, if he spent 10 days on the AHL roster for this, the Stars have saved about $50,000 in cap space that they can then effectively use elsewhere.
And because he's on an entry-level contract, which is AKA a two-way contract, Sean, he actually does not. It's not like a one-way where he gets paid the same. It just doesn't go off the cap. He actually takes a salary hit if he's on the AHL roster.
There's roughly about $50,000 taken out of Lian's pocket for.
I think Sean's bad Wi-Fi just took over.
Tough luck for him and a couple other guys who have hurt. I can see myself frozen.
Yeah, you froze poorly on that. And we're going to blame it on you for sure, because Sam and I are still moving just fine. So, okay, repeat it real quick, Sean, because we lost all of your words.
Yeah. Lian the Stars are saving about $50,000 in cap space potentially during the Four Nations break with him being on the AHL roster during this time, and the Lian himself is missing out on that amount of money. So it's not just a cap; it's also a capital thing for the player as well.
All right. So while Sean figures out his connection, because we might look frozen to him, that means it's his local area. We need to talk about the Four Nations. So Sam, I know you were watching. We all were watching Canada versus Sweden last night at the Bell Center in Montreal. It was brilliant to hear the entire 21,000 plus attendants sing "Oh Canada" in full voice. It was really cool that they brought Mario Lemieux out on the ice for that pregame ceremony. You know, it was the opening game of the tournament, so they brought out members from each of the Four Nations in this tournament. And you know, seeing Lemieux and Crosby next to each other as the captain of Canada, Austin Matthews coming out, you know, and getting booed by the Montreal fans was awesome. I mean, of course he is, because both of Toronto Maple Leaf and Team USA. But the pageantry just leading up to the game was wonderful. And then the game itself I wouldn't say it exceeded expectations, but boy, it just reminds you why we clamor for this type of best on best international tournament.
Yeah, you're right about every part. I mean, I turned that on. I think the game started at 7 local Central Time, and I turned it on at like 5:30 to make sure I didn't miss any of the build up, any of the pre stuff, because it's all that is so cool. And when you're working, you know, covering an NHL team, you don't get to see that all the time. You know, even when we're at the Stars games, a lot of times you're having a conversation or you're doing something pregame. You're not as just watching all of the cool things happening and all of the build up to games. And that's what happened yesterday. It built up the momentum, and I loved that game. I mean, I was so nervous when Canada scored that early power play goal where they just looked automatic. Shots were like 9-0. And I was like, man, this is going to be 8-0. And we've seen some of those. It's not like it's out of the norm for these tournaments. You've seen some of the games where a team like a Finland or Sweden or even the US in the World Cup of Hockey got absolutely spanked. And I was worried that was going to happen. But what a response from Sweden to make that a game. Push it to get, I mean, that's so important. That's why I love this tournament and how it's set up with the 3-2-1 point system, because not only did Sweden coming back and making that a game give them a point that could end up being huge for them, it takes one away from Canada because Canada doesn't get the regulation win for 3 points. So that's big in all ways. The Team USA is looking at it at, hey, we take care of business in regulation tonight. We're already up one on our rival. So the game was awesome, back and forth. The speed I know, Owen, we were texting. The speed is just ridiculous. And the speed of those players that were at their best during the game, they're already at that speed, but putting them all together on the ice at the same time was just absolutely amazing to watch.
You know, I saw some quotes after the game, and the one that really stood out, as you mentioned, the speed, was Drew Doughty said, I think that's the fastest hockey game I've ever played in my life as far as the pace of play. But these guys, you know, one of my kids, both of my boys were watching with me, but one of them said, this is a little different than an all-star game, which is what is replacing this part. And it's not really comparable for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a 2-week tournament versus a 2-day weekend kind of thing. But you're right. These are players playing at the top of their game that want to win. This is not an exhibition in that regard. And so from the playing style, from the speed, from all that, it is really something. Let's talk more about this because we're going to get right into it. We got to let Sean back in once he tells his kids to turn their iPads off.
I got nothing ringing.
He has bandwidth. We'll do that next here on the DLS Dallas Stars podcast.
All right, before we get Sean back on the show, I'm going to talk about Sleeper. Sleeper is the best fantasy platform out there, period. But it's much more than that. It also has awesome picks, which are super simple. All you got to do is select whether your favorite, least favorite, or any player will have more or less than their projected stats each game, each week, each day. And it's as simple as that. And you can even do it when you don't even know the sport, which is the case this next 2 weeks when there's no hockey going on outside of the Four Nations. So Sam's got to give you his NBA picks, which tonight I have Mr. Jimmy Butler of the Golden State Warriors with over 5.5 assists against Houston. If that hits, I believe Houston is the Rockets. I'm pretty sure on that one. If it hits, you can win 1.9 times your money. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop, instant alerts, breaking news, major injuries, so you can stay ahead of the game and outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
All right, it's time for us to talk about Rugged Road. Usually this is Luddy's spot, but here I am today because Luddy is on the road. He'll be back on the show tomorrow. We'll talk about that. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. One of the most unique features of Rugged Road coolers is their ability to always float upright. Never lose a drink, never have your snacks float away. So gear up with your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used, Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Use the code DLLS for 10% off. All right.
Just saw, Sean, I don't know if you saw, but Shea Theodore out for the whole tournament.
Yeah, let's talk about that Canada first. Sean, or not Sean. Sean is trying to get back in. Yeah, Brandon said, free Sean. Sam.
We're trying.
That was the biggest concern for NHL teams, and it's for every international tournament. Olympics, the old World Cup of Hockey, we'll get into that a little bit later. Now this Four Nations tournament is in the middle of an NHL season. NHL owners, general managers, coaches really get worried about losing their players due to injury, especially when they're playing at this high level of intensity. It's also what makes the game great. And it's really awful to see that Shea Theodore suffered an injury going into the boards. Looked like he got his arm or wrist caught in a funny position. Yeah. Here's the thing. The risks are there, but the overarching theory here is this grows the game. And I firmly believe, and we're going to talk about this in our fourth segment with our World Cup of Hockey discussion, that it betters the game to be doing this, even if it's at the detriment to individual players and teams trying to win a Stanley Cup during the season.
100%. And not just grows the game. You're 100% right with that. It grows the game. It gets more people watching. I mean, who doesn't turn on that game and watch that entire game? You don't even have to be a hockey fan to just turn that on and just be amazed at the speed and the skill involved in this tournament. But on top of growing the game, these players want this. We've talked about this a bunch. Mark Janko mentioned it yesterday with the stars that are attending and playing in this tournament. these players want to wear their native country's flag and play for their country. That's a huge honor. It's something they talk about all the time. It's something they work for. It's been on the minds of so many players since they've last been able to do it. 2014, 2016, 10 years we're talking. And that's been a problem McDavid hasn't even done it in a true best on best. So for the players, they want to do it. And that's what makes it worth it, to grow the game, grow it, get it out to more people, show the skill of the league, but also for the players, this is worth the injury. And that's why the players are going. That's why we talked about it on the show yesterday. That's why Doughty got back from injury and really wanted to make sure he was ready. It's why Crosby missed the last 2 Penguins games, but still came and played in this tournament. It's important for these players, and they will take the injury risk. And I think Mark Janko said it perfectly yesterday. He's excited to watch these Dallas Stars play in this tournament. 10% of him will be gritting his teeth a little bit on making sure there's no injuries and hoping for health when they return, because we got not the longest runway for the playoffs when they get back from this. But 90% of it is enjoy it, grow the game, play this, enjoy playing for your country. And I think that's the right balance there, versus you're not going to tell a guy not to go because you're worried he might get hurt for the playoffs.
Let's bring Sean back in. Hey, look at that.
Hey!
Sean,
right.
what were your impressions of Canada-Sweden last night?
Right now I have to stop saying
That drop came from the very opening line of yesterday's show with Mark Janko. And I said something to John. I said, because we were all laughing, that he was literally telling Janks, I have to stop swearing. We're about to go live, but we already went live. And so I said to John,
many warnings.
That's a new drop. And play it again. It's phenomenal.
Right now I have to stop saying
Keep in mind, and then Luds exploded on me saying that I didn't count him down. I gave him a 2-minute warning, I gave him a 1-minute warning, a 30-second warning, a 15-second warning, a 10-second warning, and then counted him down from 5, and then said we were going live.
And Jenks said on the show after he said that, because he was complaining, he looked at him and said, 10 seconds to live. So what are you going to do? All right, Sean, Canada-Sweden. That was a great game last night. What are your thoughts?
That was a lot of fun. That was a ton of fun. I watched I've been a little bit. I was one of the people who was like, this is a made up tournament. It's an exhibition. What really matters? And then you watch the first 5 minutes of the game, and you're like, all right, I was wrong. Throw out all past opinions on this. This is awesome. The game was great. I knew Crosby had been good with Team Canada, but then you hear the fact and the stat that he's won 25 straight games playing for Team Canada, and that's absolutely crazy.
Ridiculous.
It's absolutely crazy. And then just the way, it was such a great start, and then the way Sweden battled back, we got the overtime. To me, that was just it's what we've been waiting for a long time, and it delivered. So
we were talking about the injury risks when your connection went kaput. Obviously, Shea Theodore's news is bad for him and for the Vegas Golden Knights and for Canada, but they have enough bodies. They can certainly be okay. What's the procedure? Do you know of how does Canada immediately get to name a new player for their roster because he's ruled out?
No, so they get to alert a replacement, but they don't get to bring someone else to Montreal or Boston unless they go below 6 healthy defensemen. So it's a very weird scenario because I guess it's the type of what's what you apply to all the teams, I guess, so it's kind of it's also the NHL's making up their own rules on this. They run the tournament, so I don't understand why they wouldn't bring someone in earlier, but that's not for us to understand, I guess.
Who's Canada's 7th again? I'm forgetting right now.
Sanheim.
Sanheim, yeah.
Travis Sanheim from the Philadelphia Flyers. You know what's interesting too is that if they have another guy on standby, he's probably on a vacation right now, maybe somewhere warm, unless you're Luds and you're off. He's not snowmobiling, I don't think, right now. He is up in Minnesota for his U18 teams. They have a big tournament this weekend. We'll talk to him about it tomorrow, but it has to be weird to not be picked. Let's say for Hockey Canada, it's Thomas Harley, right? Jank said yesterday he was pretty close. Harley might be in Mexico right now on a beach. And he gets a phone call. Does he have to turn around and come back sunburned and be ready just in case?
Oh, you know
Probably.
he's sunburned already.
You know he's sunburned. Doesn't seem like a sunscreen applier. Sam?
Yeah, he's got the skin. He's just asking for it.
The first power play last night for Canada. Yeah, obviously the
only power play.
The only power play. And Sweden made a really smart move. Don't take any more penalties because it was sort of you're being put on notice. At your own risk, try to defend this power play. That first unit is scary. And we talked about it in the preview this week. But the execution by Crosby to set that goal up was something else.
Yeah, that was that sentence almost seems unfair reading the scoreline on that goal. And that was like
McDavid to Crosby to McKinnon.
Yeah, and I think it was Makar who worked it down to McDavid on that. Like, that was just ridiculous. And that's going to be, I mean, one of the keys to Sweden picking up a point last night wasn't just them coming back, but it was they didn't take any more penalties. So
yeah, it's crazy to watch Crosby. Obviously, he was incredible last night, got player of the game, but watching what he does before he gets the puck or before he makes a play is just next level. I mean, the play he made on the game-winning goal, the massive drop pass, the looking up and knowing McKinnon's there on the first goal. It's just the way he processes the game before he even has the puck is just next level.
What did you guys think of overtime and
I loved it.
And the point system? Because personally, if I'm the US or Finland, I love that game went to overtime for two reasons. One, you try to wear out some of the energy reserves of the top players of both teams. And two, unlike a regulation NHL game, or a regular season, I should say, that goes past regulation, you're not adding in mysterious bonus points and making games worth different numbers. I mean, I've ranted about this, Sean, for years. I know you and I have talked about it a lot. Sam, you've probably heard me say it too. I despise the fact that the NHL has regular season games worth different amounts of points.
Yeah, every game should be worth the same amount of points. And I love that for this tournament that we're seeing it. It adds, especially since how they're setting this tournament up with just the 3 round robin games and a championship, and without going kind of like a Memorial Cup setup where you might have a semifinal as well. It's so important to have this. And I hope the NHL sees the success of this and thinks about applying it to the regular season. At a minimum, I would hope that the extended overtime gets a long look at, because that to me would be my bigger pressing point of the 10-minute overtime that works. You're not going to have a shootout in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, tell me that wasn't the perfect example last night too, Sean. Like, you're looking at a game where the overtime was so exciting, nobody wants it to end. It got to the 5-minute mark, and it would have just ended and gone to a shootout if it was NHL. But would they score with like still 4 minutes or so left? Yeah. So it's almost like get past that 5 minutes. People are going to start to get tired, make mistakes. That game is going to end. And the fact that, Sean, I just thought of this when you brought up that it's an NHL run tournament.
Yeah.
They have to at least be thinking about implementing that 3-2-1. And if they're going to play it in this tournament as an NHL run thing, I think that's got to be on their minds. And do you think it could work? Because I've been thinking this, college hockey does it, and I think it's something they should have implemented a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would work in the NHL, and I think it would change. For me, it would take away the acceptance of teams to when there's 3 to 4, not from teams, not from players, but from coaches. When there's 3-4 minutes left in a tie game, where it's okay if you don't score in the next 3 minutes. We can sit back and take it and get the points. So I love what it would do to. I personally think it would help late game situations. I think it would help put some more urgency and excitement into the last couple minutes of regulation, where teams themselves and coaches themselves have kind of put that urgency of play. Let's win this before the 60-minute mark.
I agree with all of that, because that's how you change the incentives, right?
Yeah.
Teams will push for that 3-point regulation win instead of play it safe, knowing, okay, we've locked in one, now we can duke it out for the bonus point, but there's less risk. And the irony is that all the GMs love the current system because it looks closer. It's harder to make a run and really vault up and down the standings because of what we call the loser point, the overtime or shootout points. It's harder to create that separation. The irony is a 3-point system would actually allow a team that's farther back in the standings to make up ground quicker. And so even though the perception of the current system, you look at the standings and it looks like they're closer together, we all know, oh, you're 6 points back. There's 4 points between, or 4 teams between you and the wild card. You're not making up that ground. You could be 10 points back and go on a run, and you could surge 10, 12 points and make a huge difference. So I'm all in favor of it. I know that it would change, 100 years plus of history and records, but I think it would be a great way to vault the game forward in that regard.
I mean, Ovechkin's going to break the goal scoring record using a stick that Gordie Howe was never able to use. I mean, like, just we get all caught up in like it's changing 100 years of records and all of this stuff. Like, games evolve, games change.
We have more teams than ever before. Yeah. There's probably going to be more expansion. We'll talk about USA-Finland. I have a fun game for Sean to do, and Sam and I get to chime in our opinions as well. Maybe we should do that next. Then we'll talk USA-Finland and the World Cup of Hockey later here on the DLS Dallas Stars podcast.
I'm going to try to make up for this with the best ad read of my career. So let me tell you, what if I had the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life? Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now the officially licensed with the NFL, the NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and it will make the ideal gift. Created and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shaker has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the bottle you've been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25 at checkout to save 25% on your order. Remember, order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25 for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers.
Nice.
Wow, mic drop. Well, I guess it's time for me to talk about Game Time. Game Time is a phenomenal resource that you have to get tickets to the best sporting events, music, theater, comedy shows, and they have a wonderful app. They also have a website. You can go to gametime.co. It's not .com, it's gametime.co. I just pull up the front of it. Popular events in Dallas. Lakers at Mavericks. Well, that was, for April 9th. That's still a ways to go. Kings at Stars at the end of this month. You can go to gametime.co. You can just download their app. They have a thing called Game Time Picks, which helps curate the best deals. It filters out all the fluff, so you only see great deals on excellent tickets and the best values. Plus, you can go, whether it's on the app or on the website, and look at virtual seating, so you know exactly where you're at, the panoramic views. You're buying the right tickets for the right shows. It does not have to have all the excess fluff. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right.
Right now, I have to stop saying
It's the best drop we have, and it's not even 24 hours old. Well, yet it's about 24 hours
Ben
old.
had to hit one before he went to lunch. So
Well,
I allowed him to hit that.
He enjoyed that as well. All right. John, do you have our game graphics ready?
Yes, making sure my mic's unmuted. I have about, I think, 11 goalies here, so you guys are going to have to tell me which ones we're going
That's
to,
okay.
and I will try to be fast.
You can do it in any order. We'll do it one at a time. Okay.
So
I'm usually quick at everything.
For some reason, the NHL Twitter account decided to ignore Kevin Lankinen, who's one of the 3 goalies for Finland. I don't know why, but they
probably assumed Kevin is not actually Finnish, because being named Kevin Lankinen and being Finnish is like being named an American named Jyrki Jokipaka.
Well, he's on the roster. They tweeted out the goalie setups of 11 of the 12 rostered goalies in the Four Nations tournament. So I don't know if somebody didn't get a photo, or maybe it's because the day they did it, he wasn't out there for practice. The Finns only had, I think, 11 skaters. So maybe that's it. They had an optional on Monday. I'm completely guessing. All right. Sean's a resident goalie guru. He's going to give his thoughts on these pad designs. This is, if you're a soccer fan, and notice I said soccer when Luds isn't here today, it would be called kit talk. Football, that's right. Kit talk, where you sort of look at the jerseys, the shorts, the socks, the whole setup, your uniform discussion. Well, for goalies, they can do some expression with the glove, the blocker, the leg pads, and of course the mask. Now, this is more about the whole thing because some of these goalies, I'm going to tell you, are pretty boring as far as their pad setups and have great masks. But here we go. Let's go with the first one here, Sean. And
what's the first one?
It doesn't matter. It's
just anything. All right, I'm going to go in alphabetical order from Adin Hill through Jeremy Swayman.
Okay, perfect. Okay. He's going to leave the Boston Bruin for last. Here's Adin Hill, Vegas Golden Knights. Sean, tell us why Brian's is so great.
Yeah, this one's number one for me amongst the pads at this tournament. It's now Brian's is a more of a boutique goalie pad company. If you'll notice, there's not Brian's stick. There's no. They literally only make goalie gear, and it's a little handmade goalie shop and everything is done custom. So, use a bunch of these pads we'll see in a little bit with the Bauer and the True. They're screen printed, which can look nice, but a lot of them are screen printed and can be done in using technology rather quickly. These Brian's pads are that logo is all hand stitched and done into that. And to me, these look the sharpest. These are the ones where you get the maple leaf on there, you tie it all together. This is the best looking one in my opinion, and plays into the event and everything like that. So number one for me on this. Even I know we picked it to go first randomly, but this was the this everyone's fighting for second after this one in my mind.
Sam, you agree?
Yeah, I don't know if it's my favorite yet, but I definitely love similar to I think Hudobin did it and Bishop in that Winter Classic with that tint, right? The little bit of yellowish or brownish tint it gives that old school look. I like that a lot.
All right, let's go to the next one, John. I agree. I think the Canadians in general, not as far as the pad setup goes, knocked this one out of the park. Here's Jordan Binnington. Not as creative, but again, he didn't just go with classic white or black pads. And I love the fact that he incorporated the Canadian red. And this is, again, Adin Hill's better, but this compared to some of the other ones is not bad at all.
Yeah, this is a good color scheme for me. This is a pad design that we've already seen in the NHL. One of the things that I like when you have like a marquee event like this, I'd like to see designs that maybe we wouldn't see in the NHL. Maybe this would have been a cool time to break out a new design you're working on for next year to debut it and everything like that. But I don't think we've seen anyone else.
You mean like they did with the Super Bowl score bug last weekend?
Yeah, but actually done well as opposed to that. No, but this is this is a pad layout we've seen before, and this is a true pad. But I like it's new for the color scheme, and it looked really good with the Canada game jersey last night too.
And Binnington was really solid. So too was Philip Gustafsson. I thought both goalies really acquitted themselves very well in that first game last night. All right, next one. Samuel Ersson. This is the worst of the Swedes. The other two are really good. We'll show them for you. Unfortunately, this one is not it.
It's boring. It's very it's a boring white pad, effectively.
I like the mask. Mask is good. Pads are boring.
Yeah. The pads almost look purple. I got to admit, Sean, I don't know if this bugs you at all. For player, like forwards or defenseman, it doesn't bug me. But looking at that True and then Bauer logo next to each other drives me crazy. I want him to have all the same brand, like Binnington did.
Well, I mean, so on that front, that comes down to from a goalie perspective, you actually make more money from an endorsement perspective. You use the full kit, right? I know. I remember talking to I talked to Ben Bishop's agent about it for a bit. At one point, Ben Bishop kept using. I think he was using the Warrior stick when he was using the Bauer pads. I think which one was? I can't remember the exact. But Bishop was using a different stick than his pads, and so there was some sponsorship / money opportunity that you'll get a little bit more from the company if you're using everything. So like Jake, who will come up here eventually, uses all Bauer, I believe. Yeah. He's making.
And there's no way for you to get Brian's stick, right?
What was that?
Brian's doesn't make sticks.
Brian's doesn't make. Yeah, right. Brian's doesn't make sticks. And from a retail perspective, they want to be able to sell you the stick. That's the one that churns the most money. They make the most money ROI on selling goalie sticks. So they want you to be able to go buy the stick with the Jake Oettinger name on it. So Like I know, like for example, I know Ben Bishop used a Warrior stick because the stick I still use in beer league says Bishop on it because it's a Bishop curve. So
I used to buy sticks just because of the name that was on them when I was younger.
Sam, who was the first stick that you bought when you started
Madonna.
playing? Mike Madonna. There you go.
Madonna's curve.
Mine was.
I can't remember which one it turned into.
Believe it or not, I didn't buy it. I was gifted it, but it was a Coho Revolution, and it was an Eric Desjardins curve.
Oh, man.
I was going to say either that or Solani. Those are the only guys that use those.
I don't know how I got that one, but it was great. I love the stick. All right, let's go to the next one, John. Now we're talking for Swedes. Here's Philip Gustafsson. I look, they have a great color scheme, the Swedish jerseys anyway, and I love that we had the color rush of the yellow of Sweden and the red of Canada together. It allowed for it because Sweden's primaries are light. You're not always going to get that, but I thought it looked great in Montreal last night to see the yellow versus the red.
And this one ties in so well with the glove to the blocker setup too, ties the glove and blocker with the pad. So there's some times where the setup doesn't always fit. So I big fan of what they do. This simple but effective here.
You know what? This actually the practice jersey doesn't do this as much justice because in the game it looked even better.
Yeah.
I didn't. Did the mask clash at all? Because I didn't even notice that he had a yellow mask and then we were wearing yellow uniforms.
No, I think it looked great. Yeah, it was just all like a one setup. Yeah, he was that save he made with the blocker.
Oh,
where he was going to his left and then back to his right last night. Stunning.
Unreal.
Yeah, he's had a great year, and he deserved to be the starter in that one for sure. All right, let's go to the next one.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's boring.
I'm sorry.
He's
probably the best goalie in the world right now, but that is not good.
Can we actually real quick? This one's boring and terrible. Can we go back to Gustafsson's real quick? I wanted to point out one other thing about it actually that I just. So if John, are you able to zoom in on the glove there?
I can do it like I did with Otter yesterday. It looks really bad on the screen, but it's physically
looks hilarious.
Give it a try. We'll do it on the spot.
I gotta drag it over here, and then I gotta drag it here.
So this is two different. You talked about mix and matching brands. This is credit to Gustafsson here. That's a Bauer blocker and a true.
Oh, look at that! It's a true glove.
So that's a different glove, and that's part of it is so. There's been a couple of goalies I know have dealt with. There's a Vaughn, I think it's a V5 glove that a lot of goalies really liked. You'll see, especially in college, you'll see goalies with CCM, True Gear, and a Vaughn glove. And then there's a True glove. I can't remember the model that a lot of goalies like that Bauer hasn't really replicated yet. So I know Gustafsson is one of those guys who likes Bauer for everything else and is effectively waiting for Bauer to make a glove that fits his comfort level on his hand.
And then he would probably have the matching design. I didn't even think about it because the colors blend, but
colors are different.
It's not the same pattern.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, something the fans probably are interested in knowing and that I've just been blown away every time I go to Pure Hockey or any store. How much does blocker, glove, leg pads cost? Just regular, not these crazy custom ones. If I'm a high school goalie going in the Pure Hockey and buying all four of those.
I mean, you're probably dropping about $2,000 on everything. Like it's
City.
It is expensive. It is expensive.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Oh, wait, did we do that one?
No, we did Hellebuck. Look at this.
You want Hellebuck or Linus? Sorry.
No.
Do you have anything else to say on Hellebuck, guys?
No, he deserves to be skipped. That's how bad they are.
Yeah, boring.
All right, moving on.
Best goalie in the world, boring pads.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I love these. I'm not always a big fan of the distressed look in general on things. Like making your jeans look like they're old even though they're brand new, pre-distressing your dining room table as if it's a priceless heirloom instead of something you just bought a week ago. But this is a really cool look for Linus Ullmark.
People do that with their dining room tables?
Oh my God, Sean. We bought our table back in like 2005 and they have the distressed look as if you found it at like a garage sale instead of brand new out of the factory.
You can pay more money to make it look like it came from a thrift shop.
I kid you not.
So I could take my dining room table that has been beaten up by 6 years of children and make some money on it.
Probably sell for profit.
It is distressed, believe me, and it is. I've told my wife that like in about 10 years we can buy a nice, clean dining room table that doesn't look like it's been beaten.
I don't get it.
Hell,
but I like the pads.
I like the pads, but also if anyone's looking to buy a distressed dining room table,
I will say for Olmark, I think two things. One, the pads literally look like I just pulled them out of my garage, put them on with to play pond hockey. But two, I don't like them at all. And I think the reason is for whatever reason, those stripes scream Nashville Predators colors to me. And I hate that yellow when it comes to the Predators. So I don't like this one.
I believe this process is called relicking, by the way.
Is that the official?
Because that's what they do to guitars, and this actually came up on What Chaos, the DJ and Pete's show at All City,
our national hockey show.
It came up on their show the other day, and someone chimed in and was like, "Yeah, they'll take sandpaper to like new guitars or like furniture to intentionally make it." I don't know if that's what it's called for hockey pads, but that's what it's called for those.
Well, I think that's sort of like that's probably screened. It's not like actually distressing it. It's just
that's just the Bauer ones are just screen printed.
All right, let's go to the next one because there are some more
Here's
boring
Montembeau, and then you guys have 2 minutes before I yell at you to break.
Okay,
fair.
Very nice.
There's an Easter egg on this one that I absolutely love about this pad that you have to be a really big goalie nerd to know. So the L that you see on the pad there, right above you see on the pad there,
yep.
the
L. Right up near the knees.
So that's a nod to the Lefebvre family. The Lefebvre family has been making pads for NHL goalies since around 1980. Patrick Waugh was the first one to popularize Lefebvre pads. And the Lefebvre family has, for a long time, they made the pads for Reebok, and then they made them for CCM, and now they make them for True. They actually got bought out by True, but for a long time they just subcontracted their work to other bigger companies, where it was always the Lefebvre family doing that. So it's a company, it's a family that's based in Montreal. All of these pads
remember seeing those pads growing up when I was 10, 12 years old. They were around in Maine.
Yeah. So there's
back in the day.
So those that logo is a nod to the Montreal family that makes so many pads and has made pads in the NHL since the 80s. So I love that little Easter egg right there it's a True pad, but it's a nod to the Lefebvre family and everything like that. So I love that part, and for me, these are probably second to me. Just I love that little history note. I like that, and to me, after Hill, these are second, even though we probably will never see them used outside of practice.
All right, we're going to carry this over and finish this, and then talk about USA-Finland and the World Cup
and
of Hockey.
Finish this
here on DLS. Nice, Sean. But first, let's talk about being a diehard. Sean can point right down in front of him. Sam can point, he's doing the right thing, and I will even do the right thing. I'm not even on the screen.
Janko was all over it yesterday.
Yeah, Jenks was right there. Use that QR code to scan on your phone. That's probably your device that you're scanning. Maybe you're using an iPad to scan.
Yeah.
By doing that, it will take you to our website, alldls.com, where you can sign up to be a diehard. What about Mark Janko? Stars assistant GM was on the show yesterday. I said it before. If you haven't watched it yet, you need to go back on YouTube and watch it. It was great. You can also listen to it on our audio podcast platforms of your choice. But one of the things we did toward the end of the show, which was a lot of fun, was we took questions that we had called out on our diehard only Discord channel. Sam compiled them and then asked Mark Janko, who then provided answers. And it was a really cool moment. That is only something we can do with a guest if you are a diehard. We did take a super chat. We didn't do any of the regular chat. I think we laughed about a couple chats. But unlike our normal pre- and post-game shows, or even this where we get into the chats a little bit more, this was a special feature that was only for diehards. So if you want to get involved with that, the next time we have a guest in studio, you need to sign up to be a diehard. In addition, we have both writers on today. If you want to be able to read everything they post on our site, and listen, I was told that not all of the all-city networks do as much writing as we do. This is not just us, but like our whole DLS company. It's a big deal. You have to be a diehard to get those diehard level articles. Plus, you get a free t-shirt when you sign up for each year. You can get the 8-bit. Is it 8-bit or 16-bit? I think it's the 8-bit, right? This is the Mike Modano. This is the old NHL 94. Is it 16-bit? I don't remember the graphics.
16.
I learned it too.
Wait a minute. John's going to peel off a layer.
Look
he and I did not coordinate this. But yeah, And you can pick
Lonely
anyone you
Leon.
want on the DLS merchandise store. Plus, you get a discount on merch. So all sorts of great features. Use the QR code. Go to alldls.com. Become a diehard today.
Also, Owen, how many followers are we from 3,000 on Twitter?
How close are we,
Oh,
John?
I think we're like 7 away last time I checked.
7.
I'll look
So
right
we
now.
are growing our DLS stars. That's DLS_stars Twitter account. We are
We're
almost
balloons.
at-
6 away now.
Balloons.
Is that the peace sign that you got the balloons?
I the 7 did balloons. I guess maybe it's the peace sign.
Yeah,
I think it's
brought
the
it in.
peace sign.
peace.
Yeah, you didn't do
Yeah.
it this time.
Okay.
Yeah,
But,
So
but I don't
that's-
need 4 more followers. I need 7 more.
and
Hey,
it's not
on
behaving for you now.
the I guess only big personal things happen when I'm sitting in this chair. But breaking personal news: I have a new niece or nephew who was just born 2 minutes ago, out in California. We don't know yet which way. Every time I sit in this chair, man, it's big life news. You know?
Sean, you got to
Did
give
you-
him balloons.
Yeah, give me some lasers.
The balloons.
Lasers
The balloon,
over here.
we'll get balloons then. We'll
Confetti.
do some confetti,
Can't
and then we'll get you some lasers. Okay.
And Sam, we actually do have breaking news
There
from
we
the
go.
hospital room. Your niece or nephew has already spoken their first words.
Right now, I have to stop saying
Boy, if that's the voice, I hope it's a nephew. Let's finish off our goalie stuff and then get into USA-Finland here, and then the World Cup of Hockey will be how we close our show today. So, John, we have a couple left. Unfortunately, I don't think they're all that very
I think we're
exciting.
on Otter, I believe.
Hey,
So,
I know that guy.
I like some of the elements of his pads, and the incorporation of the little cartoon otter drawing on the sides is a really neat thing. But the overall pad setup does not put him in the top 5 for me.
I
And
think
his,
if we're
by the way,
jud-
his mask might be the best mask.
Yeah, if we are judging based off this picture, it's one of the most boring ones. We know about the little otter on the side because of the detail that we've seen up close.
Yep.
So I can't give him credit for that right now based off this picture because I don't know what other things have been done by other goalies, maybe on stuff we can't see. So I think if we're grading just based off these pictures, this is incredibly boring. And it is.
Sean,
Yeah.
can you
I'll say
explain
that Jake-
why
go
goalies
ahead.
like the white pad so much?
Why they do? Because they think some goalies, and I want to say some believe that the white pads make you look bigger. They go through and they deceive the shooter's eye a little bit more. In fact, Ian Clark, the goalie coach of the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm going to give Sam homework right here to go talk to Casey DeSmith about it. Ian Clark is known in the goalie world for not wanting his goalies to have color on the pad roll because Ian believes that if you have color on the pad roll, it gives a distinct line of where goalies can shoot. And I believe Casey actually once ordered pads. I think it was for the reverse retros or for the flying skate pads, that he ordered them before Ian Clark got to see them. And so he actually got around the rule on that. So that's your homework, Sam, to talk to Casey about his breaking Ian Clark's goalie pad rules. So
I will.
Unbeknownst to him.
He's talked about the color of pads before. I asked him because when they both came out with their new blackouts, that's what I was just about to say about Jake, is that Jake has mentioned multiple. I mean, look at Jake's blackout pads; they're almost the same as those US pads. They're very little blackout, or the skyline green in there. He doesn't like I think he wore those all black blackout pads like one or two games, and then didn't like them and didn't want to wear them anymore. It went right back to his old stuff. Even his mask, his blackout mask, is mostly white. So I think it's just a preference for him. So I'm not surprised to see them look like that.
By the way, I do love the otter on the mask with the Statue of Liberty. I hope that gets. I don't know if he'll play or not in this tournament, but if he does,
I don't
it's
think
a great
he will.
look.
I don't think he will.
Yeah, you might be right. Sam,
Only
we have two
chance I
things
think is
for you.
game 3.
Okay.
And
Ardell in the
only
chat.
if USA is 2-0, Sam, on that
Yeah.
front. Like
Yeah.
Pretty much if they're in the point to clinch, and that's not a knock on Oettinger. It's just they're going with their best guy to try to get those points. Ardell wrote in the chat a new potential menace to plumbing, talking about your niece or nephew. And then we have a super chat.
Bing bang.
Burnt Oils, a little Lundquist Duchesne. All the best wishes to Hot Sam's new family member.
Thank you very much. One less thank you to Ardell and more thank you to Burn
Oh, I love it. All right, let's go to the next one.
I believe we are at Saros.
I believe you're going to crush
Ugh.
those guys.
Ugh.
Those are
Full
the
mask.
worst.
those
Great
are
mask.
boring.
Maybe the worst ones of the entire
Like
bad.
Artis Urbe.
Well,
Okay,
that sucks.
do not. I will not allow us to rip on Arturs Urbe when it comes to.
Oh no, I
pads,
wasn't
'cause
knocking on him. I'm just saying that's what it looks like.
Okay, Arturs Urbe went and sewed his own pads. That is
Love
the. So I will not allow any Arturs Urbe slander on
No
this
slander
show.
of Urbe.
No slander. No slander. It was,
Okay,
no
let's go
slander
to
at
the
all.
next one, John.
This is for pound for pound, probably the best I'd say.
Oh, this is a Boston Bruins one.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
it's
time out. We're gonna get the two that we just voted as like the worst against each other tonight. Hellebuck and Saros.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Arf.
Well, I mean, look at Swayman. Go back to the last one real quick, John.
1 sec.
Saros
I mean,
loses to Swayman because he has one fewer color stripe on his pads. Go back to Swayman.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
basically the
Swayman gets another color. He's instantly better just because of that.
it's the same pad too. It's the exact same pad, and it's just the color placement of it. So it's
But yeah, Hellebuck's is the worst. These are very, very close,
yeah.
unfortunately. And maybe another time we can get the masks together and debate those. Sam, what's your number one out of that group?
I like I'm gonna say the other. Who was the other one? Was Montembeau, not Hill. I'm gonna go with that just because everyone else said Aiden Hills is the best. But I love that shade, and he has it too. The old school little tint.
Yeah.
By the way, we do have one more that I neglected to import until we were halfway through the segment.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Pekka
Oh,
Luukkonen.
yeah.
That's better.
Oh, those are old school.
Yeah, I like
old
those.
school,
I mean,
like when I
it's
was
not
young.
number one for me, but I like that it matches his mask colors and it
Like a
certainly
roller
looks
hockey
good
setup.
with their practice jersey.
It's a little bit.
Cujo.
I like. Yeah. The mask looks very Cujo-esque. It's got the
Yes. The finished
it is
lion
the-
on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
For me, Hill's number one,
mhm.
and I think Canada wins as a group with Sweden close second. And I
I
think
would not
it's
say it's
because
close.
US
is
fourth.
I really like the Swedish look, probably because I'm a sucker for the yellow and the navy. But there's one of the three Swedes. Was it Ersson whose pads were kind of boring? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the reason
other
why they
three
don't win
nations-
for me.
The other three nations know they can't keep up with skill of goaltending, so they need to beat the U.S. with their pads.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Canada loses some games, but they can win the goalie pads. Do you agree? Is it Canada for you guys?
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. All right.
hate to
Let's
say
talk
it.
about the USA-Finland, and then we'll finish with the World Cup of Hockey. And so hopefully you don't have to leave in the next 3 minutes because we're going to go a little late. Big game tonight. First game for the United States. Finland decimated on the blue line because of injuries to Miro Heiskanen and Rasmus Ristolainen. Sean, we had a segment about this earlier the week. Sam and I and Luds talked about their lines. They have good players. They still will have dangerous stuff, and they play hard and they play gritty. So U.S. can't take Finland lightly. But U.S. has a much far superior roster, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's all at the back end too, right? Where if you just line these two forward groups side by side, you'd be like, oh, I can see this as the depth at the blue line after Miro's injury and then Ristolainen and it's going to be tough. And that was one of the side thoughts I had watching that Canada-Sweden game last night, where, geez, how much is Sidney Crosby and McKinnon going to cook against the Finnish defense, right? Like that's the other thing too. So I've got a soft spot for Finland, and obviously for people from a Stars perspective want to see the Finnish guys do well, but it's going to be it's going to take quite the team effort, and Esa Lindell may have to play the most and best hockey of his life over the next 4 games if they're going to do something. So
yeah, it's U.S. versus Lindell, I think.
Yes.
I mean, does Saros have to play out of his mind, Sam?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so. I think he needs to make probably 3 of those saves that were made last night by Gustafsson for them to have a chance in this game.
The only thing that I'm not as excited about tonight is just that it's in Montreal and it's the U.S. and Finland playing in Canada. Again, that I'm still very excited, but I look at obviously USA-Canada on Saturday in Montreal, but that U.S. home game, I say home, in Boston against Sweden on Monday, the 17th. a Team USA game like this on U.S. soil, that's another level. But this obviously first game of the tournament.
I think I heard Sweden
I'm so fired up.
Sweden plays Canada and the U.S. both in their home countries, and
That's
Finland
correct.
plays the
that's
both
not fair.
out of their own countries.
I also get part of it's from like a media gathering. You get people in every spot, but why couldn't we have done why couldn't we have done Finland, USA in Boston? I know it would have been, and then had Finland and USA just fly to Montreal for the Saturday. Like I agree with you completely, and that's one of those where I get, you're like, we want everyone in one spot, but and I guess the U.S., the concept is, hey, you get the championship game on home ice if you get there and stuff like that.
That's what they did. They have 7 games, 4 in Canada, and then they're going to move the whole circus over to Boston for the other 3.
Yeah, but I would have liked to see it.
Thanks for watching on our television platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod, and check out alldls.com.
Are we allowed to swear now?
No, but we did skate underneath that.
Luds is in the chat. By the way, Luds is in the chat here.
Sean, from what I witnessed at Radio Row, it doesn't feel like swearing is really being pushed in the other markets. From what I witnessed,
Luds is watching right now.
Or Chris Sims walk on a live show and are told they're allowed to swear, then like they're going to swear their heads off.
Like it goes, good line talk.
So there was lots of swearing on Radio Row, and that was cool. That's all good. It's kind of all right. Good to know.
Apparently, that's what I witnessed.
I like to think that we here at DLS elevate the level of conversation here for All City, don't you?
Yes, we can dip down into plumbing and not wearing underwear and sweaty junk, but we cannot curse.
I'll tell you, they were petrified at the way Jeff Kavanaugh was speaking about Jerry Jones, the other football shows.
Really?
They were like, wow, he's really going at the owner of the team. Like, we wouldn't dare do that.
Oh, no. We all know what Jerry likes.
No, I mean, I was the person who put the word that rhymes with pucking horse pit out into the world. So
right now I have to stop saying.
Do you guys have any? I wonder if Luds heard that one. I hope he did. That's our new drop, Luds. You guys have anything else you want to add for Sam? We'll start with you, USA-Finland tonight before we get into World Cup of Hockey.
No, I think we talked about it. I'm super excited to see. It was funny watching it. There was a video of they asked the Finns who was going to score tonight first, the 3 stars Finns, and 2 of them said Esa. So I hope that's what happens. I hope he scores the opening goal.
All right. I hope that, unfortunately for Finland, that nobody scores and that the U.S. wins. Even though I want Roope Hintz and Esa Lindell and Mikael Granlund to show out well.
Let me give you the ideal star scenario, Owen. 8-7.
Oh,
USA wins 8-7. Connor Hellebuck's confidence, the USA's confidence is shaken in Connor Hellebuck. You get your Jake Oettinger start on Saturday. He wins that game. There's what you root for tonight.
And of those 7 goals, the Stars finish forwards and defensemen factor into 5 of them.
Otter tweaks something. Swayman goes in. Hero of the.
Oh no! Get out of here!
No.
I will say, funny note.
Deadline.
Funny note. I was talking to Jake Oettinger. I have a story coming out this weekend about Jake's routines and stuff. So he was sending me a picture of something, and I texted him and just asked him a general question about the tournament. He sends me the most boring text messages, just straightforward every time, which is a lot of what you get from NHL players. He sent me 2 exclamation points about being excited for this game tonight. So
I don't know if
Jake
you guys are paying
ready
attention to the content being put out by Team USA, but I mean, Swayman and Otter look like they're about to elope in all of those videos.
They look like best
you guys
friends.
Like the TikTok of them asking how many toddlers would have to be needed to take down Jake Oettinger. I enjoyed that one.
I sent this picture. I sent this picture to Owen, and I stupidly didn't send it to John to put on the screen. But there's the great picture on the ice where Swayman and Oettinger are like all 3 goalies. There's a picture of all 3 goalies together, and it looks like Oettinger and Swayman are like the 2 college buddies on like a road trip with like the uncle who paid for everything.
And then I said something to Sean and said, yes, except for all 3 of them are millionaires.
Yes. Well, Jake makes half of what they make this year, so he's probably
I would love to make half of Jake's salary, and I would be fine.
Yeah.
Current one, not his extension one.
I was curious, Sam, so I went and looked up, since we're since you got a couple exclamation points, I once got 2 rolling facing emojis from Jake via text. So that was that was the loudest we've ever. I think I've ever heard him in the.
Is that an LOL? Is that?
It was. That might be his way of saying LOL. Maybe it's a more efficient way. Maybe that's kind of the thought process. It's more efficient than using three characters. So
it's only 2.
I am very anti-LOL. I prefer the crying with laughter emoji personally.
Yes.
But that's just me.
Let's
talk about World Cup of Hockey as we wrap things up here on the pod today. The NHL and Commissioner Gary Bettman announced that the World Cup of Hockey for the 4th iteration of that competition will be back in the year 2028. They also said that new bids will be, the bidding process for hosting available for both North America and in Europe. So that'll be really interesting to see how they play that out.
Let's go, Brad Alberts. Come on, Brad.
World Cup of Hockey in Dallas would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
So cool.
Brad, I know you listen to the show. Go do it.
And you know that Brad likes to swing for he swings for the fences. He's not just trying to slap down a sacrifice bunt.
You do it, Brad. Sean will be there.
Yes.
Well, that's a big statement there. Sean will go to World Cup of Hockey.
Brad got the under-18 World Championships in Frisco. My flight is already booked. I am flying to Frisco flying to Dallas on April 22nd. So,
and you were here for the Winter Classic.
Going to meet you?
Yes, Sam and I will finally meet.
No way, unreal.
Yes.
I'll probably
we were trying, all these wonderful super chats. We're trying to get Sean down here earlier, so it wasn't until April that you guys get to meet in person. But so far with Ben, he's just our GM has let us down.
Game. Make sure it's not a playoff game away. I'll be in Winnipeg or something.
I have the hotel for a full week, so I don't know.
It would be actually really funny if that was the case and Sam missed the entire U18s because he was on the road and you guys still didn't meet. We should actually perpetuate this bit. That would be really funny.
Yes. Next time Sam goes on the road, Ben, fly me down.
There you go.
So a couple of things about the World Cup of Hockey that I think are really interesting. They have already committed to go to the next 2 Winter Olympics, which will be next year in Italy, and then I believe the French Alps in 2030. So the 4 years later. So having a 2028 World Cup of Hockey means that you're going to have a best-on-best NHL-involved international hockey tournament every 2 years, 26, 28, 30, and they haven't confirmed it, but if they can get the World Cup of Hockey every 4 years going again, 2032 Winter Olympics in 2034, and we could have a literal regular international tournament every 2 years. And I said this to Sam earlier, Sean, when your Wi-Fi was wigging out.
I mean, I listened to the show, as you could see. Some guy
you didn't.
Was a real jerk was mean to me in the comments. So,
for all the perceived risk of NHL players getting hurt and teams and executives and league officials not liking that, and I understand this is a business, right? There is a business side of hockey.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly short-sighted for them not to be doing these tournaments because this grows the game of hockey on a global scale that not even the global series where like the Stars and the Florida Panthers went to Finland does, because this attracts casual sports fans way more than regular hockey NHL fans. And this gets people that get excited about hockey. You get an uptick in viewership for NHL games after a tournament like this, even more so with the Winter Olympics and then the World Cup. I can't say how much that I hope this becomes a regular occurring thing every 2 years, whether it's the Olympics or a World Cup of Hockey.
Owen, I love the idea of it every other 2 years. I like that. It makes me very happy. But let me put it this way. When's the last time you watched swimming? When's the last time you watched?
When I went to my girlfriend's swim meet in 11th grade.
That is a false equivalency for this point I made.
When is the last time you watched women's hockey?
It's been a little while, but I did watch USA-Canada on NHL Network, which you don't even get, I don't think.
I don't, but I have ways of.
I know.
I have ways of finding games.
Call Luds, he'll tell you about the VPN.
Yes. So I want international hockey every other year, and I want to say that, but I also go to a bit of the element of the most watched hockey game of 2022 was the USA-Canada women's gold medal game at the Olympics, and that's great, everyone. But it's international hockey is awesome and brings everyone together, but I don't think we can always relate jingoism to hockey fandom. And that's just the reality. Like, there's so much of international sports where we want to see our team, our country be better than a country at something else. So I think it's great for the sport. I really do. But I also understand the perspective of, I don't see how all of the, I don't see how this will always be like, oh, well, this instantly turns people into hockey fans. It turns people into international sports fans. So,
but that's garbage,
I want to be
Sean.
wrong.
I completely disagree, and I'm going to argue about it in a fun way, because the World Cup gets people interested in club soccer just in the same way.
Get Tim Cato in here. Ask him the last time he watched a non-men's national team game.
But that's you're using anecdotal evidence for something that is not needed for this. Because think about it.
No. I mean, I watch every World Cup and international tournament, and I have never seen a club soccer game.
That's fine. But again, that's still anecdotal. And here's why. You will grow the game. You will get new people watching hockey. You see the level of play of Canada-Sweden last night was at a level that was much, much higher. It reminded me of watching like an all-star game, except that they're actually trying, which never happens.
Yeah.
And it is good for the game. It may be hard in instant measurables. I'm not saying that the next Tuesday that the Winnipeg Jets host the Minnesota Wild, that another million people are going to tune in, but it will grow it. It will grow in countries where maybe it's not as big of a sport, and their national team will start to encourage things, and you'll get more players that play that then become professionals and more NHLers, and that is the long game there.
It does, but it's a very, very, very long game. And I
but
just want to be clear.
It's even worse when you don't play it for 10 years.
Yeah, I get that. And I'm very sad I'm sad we didn't get it for 10 years. I just want to, so often that we come in and say, I don't understand why the owners wouldn't do this or that. Like,
no,
it's
I understand their reservations. Yeah. I'm saying in spite of all that, I still want this going forward because it's good for the game.
I can have two different opinions here. One is that I think that this should be done every 2 years. I love it. I think it does every 2 years. It's great. It lets us talk about more hockey. It gives us a great show. All the people watching this are great. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is a magic wand that all of a sudden is like, oh, well, hockey's here, everyone. We've done it. Good job. Good job.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying this is better than not having it. It's not a huge... brave stance, but it would be short-sighted to say that it doesn't have any positive effect.
I know, but
I know. We do this on the phone all the time too, so we might as well share it with the viewers.
There's just I think sometimes
hold on,
there's
Sam,
people apply.
I know that we're arguing. You have to have a thought or two.
Oh no, I wasn't.
Mom and Dad are yelling, so you're just going to go hide in your room and play your video games?
Yeah, this is reminding me too much of my parents' divorce. I need to step back.
I love that drop. Sean, I don't think you've been on the show since the squirrel drop was official.
No, I thought you were about to say I've been on since Sam's. I thought you were about to say I've been on since Sam's parents' divorce. So that was
that I was staying away from, but thanks for bringing that up.
Smart move.
What's going on in the chat right now, Sam?
I don't know.
There's some sort of international incident brewing.
I think we have a Team Sweden fan. I don't recognize
Sweden
the name.
and Finnish.
We have a Finland fan for sure.
One from Finland and from Sweden. So there's some language I don't understand.
See, this is what happens when I flood the tags for the video with Four Nations and Team USA, Team Finland, all that stuff. Is we get some of these people are going to pop up.
Welcome.
I love it.
That's great.
Tell your friends we exist,
US
please.
Beat Finland.
Yeah, no, Kai brings up an interesting point. That is, Finland probably plays the best team game. A lot of them are ex-teammates. They teach a real, defensive, gritty, grinded out style when they come in. It's why when they get to the NHL, they're really effective players, and we love having Finns on the Stars and any other teams around the league. I just think that if the Team USA roster plays to the level that we know they can, they should win the game.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know Mike Eruzione. He scored a pretty important goal for U.S. hockey back in the day. He said this is the best U.S. team that's ever been put on the ice.
Wow. But as we've seen before, Sean, just because you're the most talented, if you want to talk about soccer, does not necessarily make you the best team.
You don't have enough talent to win on talent alone.
Fun fact about Mike Urizioni, that game, well, I mean, he actually played one more game after that because the game against Finland, speaking
Gold
of
medal
Finland,
game.
was the game that won the gold medal. He never played another competitive hockey game after that. A lot of people don't know that about Mike Urizioni.
Heck of a way to go out, though.
Heck of a way to go
college
out.
Player.
So tomorrow on the show, we will have Luds back on remote from Minnesota, where he is currently coaching his U18 teams. They have a tournament up in Blaine, Minnesota tomorrow. I think they have a game today, or traveled today. They play tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday. It's a President's Day weekend. There's a bunch of hockey tournaments going on locally in Dallas. My younger son's involved in his team is playing a tournament. I think they're in Euless Farmers Branch in Mansfield, the farthest rinks from our house over on the McKinney side of things. So should be a lot of fun driving west toward Fort Worth and south. But that being said, Sean will be here. Luds will be here. I'll be here. We'll talk about the USA. I know, Sam. He goes, oh, we'll talk about USA-Finland and then the weekend matches coming ahead. Then we have a couple days off because we're off for the weekend. And then because the following week we have a Saturday, Sunday where Sam will be on site for the Devils and Islanders both, right, Sam?
Yep.
So we will be getting our intrepid beat reporter boots on the ground.
Squirrel!
Around the big
There's not a lot to be distracted by in Long Island and Newark. Don't worry.
Yep.
There's the racetrack right there, Sam. There's
Yes.
a racetrack right there, so you can
watch the horses.
No morning skate, so I'll hit the racetrack.
hit the racetrack.
We
I think there's
talking
like
about
20.
practice.
And don't forget, next week, Leah Asimakopoulos, who's the beat writer for the Dallas Morning News that covers the Stars.
Nicely
She'll
done
be in
with her
studio
last name, too.
with me and Luds next week because
Flawless.
Sam is on remote. So we'll have Leah here instead of you guys on Wednesday next week.
She's taller than me, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, man, we should have gotten that photo.
I'm pretty sure.
At least you beat Jenks.
I mean, he was taller than Jenks. I still don't know how tall Sam exactly is, but using that picture and knowing how tall Jenks is, and knowing I can now start to figure out the exact height here. So
Yeah, on my Dallas Stars roster, I'm 6'1".
I think when Sam and I do ever meet someday, we should agree to not stand up. We should just
Just
the
leave
height-
that to the question.
Yes.
You don't want to know?
I don't want to know. I want to leave it to mystery.
You like the mystery, yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
speaking of, I don't know why I forgot to bring this up earlier, especially for Sean, but I am going to Vermont tomorrow to hang out with my best friend from college, playing pond hockey all weekend on the frozen lakes. And we are renting some goalie gear so I can get in there and stop some pucks. So I'll send you some pics from that.
No.
I'll definitely. I told Bud yesterday I'm going to get injured.
I'll
send it to the group.
Our show this evidence because we'll use it on the show next week.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait, because we're getting the gear as cheap as possible. So I'm sure I'm going to have a baseball glove, some bike helmet of some sort. It's going to be fantastic.
I hope you have some magazines rolled up as shin pads.
Oh,
yeah, like the Mighty Ducks.
All right, that's going to do it for today. For Sean, repping the Honey Baked hockey program.
This
For
the kids
Sam,
team.
Squirrel!
Yep, the squirrel. And for me and for John, thanks for joining us on a Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 o'clock on DLS.
Right now, I have to stop saying.
We all silly like the mayor.